Can you tell if this Hearthstone card is a legendary? If you can't, we have a problem with Hearthstone. So basically the main point of this is that Hearthstone's art direction recently has been, it's really well worded here, missing a sense of belonging, because it's not like the new cards are bad. It's like they just don't fit into the game. That's the biggest thing. And I think the biggest aspect of this is when you look across, when you look at other games compared to Hearthstone. If I look at, this is Magic the Gathering Online. I have no concept of what is actually happening here, right? I'm so lost. And if I'm someone who has never played MTG Arena and I go into someone's stream, I'm not even gonna bother, right? Like it's so involved. There's so much going on. It's so hard to understand. And then this is, what was Valve's game? Artifact. Yeah, it was Artifact. So this is Artifact's UI. And again, the bigger problem with Artifact was just it didn't play really well. So there's just so much going on the screen. Like, what the frick is this, right? Gwent's not as bad, but again, there's a lot going on here. It's a lot of stuff, but it is more clean than the other two. I would agree. Like, I think maybe MTG Arena is, if you're really into Magic, you probably can understand what the hell is going on here. But for the most part, it's like, oh, what the hell? Like, how do I even look at this? But if you look at Hearthstone, right? Hearthstone is very easy to understand. And one of the cases that I have is when my girlfriend watches me play Hearthstone, she even understands what's happening for the most part, right? The ins and outs, because it's so clear. And every card has a reason for it to look a little different, right? You have the taunts, you have the Wind Fury, you have something that activates, even though you may not know what that means. In terms of clarity from someone who just looks at the game, even if you played Hearthstone before, you can understand that there are key differences between just these three cards right here, which is really, really important for the game. The first bigger thing is the diamond cards, right? When you look at diamond cards, and this is why I don't really like diamond cards, not because I think they look super bad in game, but like they don't have the same border. When you look at a card in your hand, it's very easy to understand that this is a minion type, and then obviously there's no spell type here. But like when you look at it in your hand, it looks so silly. It doesn't look like it should be in a game of Hearthstone. And I understand that diamond cards are supposed to be like this new exciting thing, but unless I can put every single card in my deck as a diamond card, I don't think I ever want a diamond card. But it just feels off when you look at a diamond card. And also the Eternal comparison is such a good way of showcasing that like diamond cards are just, they don't really fit into Hearthstone. It's not really a Hearthstone card, right? It's really, really weird. But then he goes further on and shows it in the mulligan. So this is what I mean. I talked about earlier, I just talked about how in the hand, it's very easy to understand that these are Hearthstone minions. When you look at this image, when you look at this, like, look how fucked this looks. Like, it's not that the animation's bad. It's not like the card is looking stupid just because it's diamond. It just doesn't look like a Hearthstone card. It doesn't belong. It's like the odd man out. Like, it hurts my eyes looking at it. And it's even worse in your hand. Because like from a glance, it's like, what is that thing? That's not supposed to be in my game. Diamond cards get a little bit of like I want to say a pass. It's almost like what a signature card should be. It's very special, right? It's very special because it's like a very specific legendary, and it's very important that they have these really cool animations for it. Like, I understand why they do this. I understand why the diamond cards are here, but it still is very, very weird. And if I showed someone this picture, they would be a little confused on what type of card this is, because the clarity is slowly diminishing from Hearthstone, which is completely fine. But when we look at a game like, okay, so Marvel Snap has taken a really good approach to cosmetics, right? The cosmetics is the variants you can get for cards, and they all look in their own way really cool. But the nice thing about Marvel Snap is that all the cards still look the same, right? They're still the same border. You understand where the cost is, you understand what the thing does in the name. They're not changing the border of the cards. They still all belong, but they're making sure that you understand that there's a different art style for it. It's very well done. And it makes me sad because when you go back to Hearthstone, it looks like the cards just don't belong. And it's super weird. And people, like, you brought up Pokemon, right? Okay, when you look at Blastoise, right? Blastoise, it's still very easy to understand that this is his name, this is how much health he has, and this is what he does, right? I'm not even a Pokemon guy, and I can understand that. When you look at the GX version of Venusaur, right? It's still like a very different art style, right? Like, look at the comparison here. It's like different, but they look still very similar. There's the 270 on the hero power, which is right there. The name's in the top, and he has his moves. When you go back to diamond cards and you look at it, it's like, what the frick happened? It doesn't look similar to the other card. It's so like distorted. Anyways, diamond cards are not my bigger problem. We move on to like signature cards. I think for diamond cards, I understand why they look so different, right? Very, very cool. It's very in your face. It's like, here is my diamond card. You look at it right now. But then you get to signature cards, and I wasn't super against signature cards until I realistically saw them in game. And when you look at the counterparts, it just looks so weird, man. It looks so weird. I'm bringing up this whole point how the clarity of what Hearthstone looks like on board, you can immediately tell what the cards look like in hand, whatever. And when you look at it alongside each other, it's almost like the cards don't belong inside your game. The border looks so weird. It doesn't look like a normal minion. It doesn't look like it should be like that. The muted colors don't fit into the Hearthstone aesthetic because everything in Hearthstone is so fucking colorful. Look at this art. It's insane. I'm not gonna shit on the artist here. I'm not gonna shit on the Hearthstone development team, right? But it doesn't belong. My bigger problem with the signature cards too is kind of like the diamond ones, as I was saying, they look so out of place compared to the rest of your cards that if I can't have like a full diamond deck, I almost don't want to put them in my deck because it just looks so awkward. Like when you actually see it, but this isn't even the worst offender, right? This isn't the worst offender. I'm talking about this whole time about like belonging in Hearthstone. If I showed someone this picture and I said, do all of these cards belong in Hearthstone? I guarantee you someone would say to me that this card isn't a Hearthstone card. It's not that it's bad. It's not like the artist did a horrible job. It just looks so awkward. It just doesn't look like it should belong in a game of Hearthstone. But the worst part about this is Hearthstone is known as a card game to see things from a glance. The second you add this card into the equation, I get confused because I can't even see the fucking art. What is that? It's so muted compared to the rest of the colors that it hurts my eyes to look at. So if I'm trying to see Hearthstone from a glance, like Hearthstone is designed for, it looks so bad. Like it looks so miserable, man. I think if all they did was just, you could change the art of the card inside the minion, I think that would be enough. I just think they did a really, I don't want to say bad, but it's like they didn't think about this at all. It's like, oh, we just want to make new card type or new kind of art style, which would be cool. And I agree with that. But like, huh? Like, what am I looking at here, right? So we move on to the next step, right? Which is the solution to these effects. And I think this, dude, again, this is a really well-made post. So shout out to Jay for making this. If we look at this, you guys are gonna look at this and it's gonna completely change your mind. Look how great this looks. This is what it should have been look like. This is what it should have looked like. This is unreal. And it's so much more comparable to this kind of thing. It is the same idea because it looks just like a Hearthstone card in your hand, but it has the ability to be the full kind of art. I would pay money to get this in my game. I think it looks incredible. And there's so many examples in here. Here's a card that's actually in the game. This is another example of just having it pop out of the screen. But yet they're doing this weird thing where they're changing what the card actually looks like. It's like, I don't understand the logic behind it. When you compare these two, look how much better this one, like this is my opinion, of course. This is my opinion, of course. Look how much better this looks compared to this, dude. Look at the difference here. It's incredible, like how much better the one on the left. Again, it fits the Hearthstone vibe. It's colorful. It's a different variant. It showcases what the art is. It's phenomenal, man. I think they could take aspects of this and move it over. Like I think the white text would be better on this card, but the overall aesthetic and just the way that this is designed, in my opinion, is so much better than this right here. Well, that seems janky for me, but not saying the concept is wrong. I mean, it's not like a perfect design, right? This is just like an aspect or an abstract design of what it could be, right? These are obviously really well done because Blizzard made sure that they were finalized. This isn't finalized at all. This is just like, it's just like an idea, like a concept, right? It'll just need time to get accustomed to it. But that's the thing, man. It's not about getting accustomed to it. It's about, I don't want Hearthstone to be a jumbled mess of just like random art styles and just how they're doing it. I am so for them trying different ways of doing cards, right? I'm so for it. Like, again, I think that these are really cool examples of what Hearthstone cards could be like, right? But when it comes to just accepting this, I'm not for that. I don't like the idea of just, oh, just let it happen. It's not cool to let it happen. So this is a part that if you guys didn't know, Valera used to look the golden animation for Valera used to look a lot different back in the day. You'll notice how, you see how there's like multiple versions of lighting to give Valera kind of like a more spooky vibe to it. The designers of this game decided that that was not enough clarity for their view or their their gamers, their player base. This wasn't enough clarity. So if you look at that compared to what it is now, which is this, you notice how they took that away? You notice how they took away the smoky aspect of it? It's because the game wasn't clear. Like they didn't feel like that was clear enough for their audience to know which character you're playing. Because they want to make sure that when you're looking over someone's shoulder or you're just, you know, watching a TV, going back, whatever, you understand what's happening at a glance. We're already breaking like rule number 1 with these signature cards. When I look at this as a glance and you guys couldn't even tell this was a legendary minion, there's a problem. It's not as simple as just accepting it. So this is something that Jay posted recently. And if you know what this set is from, if you know where this card is from, you'll understand already what the point of this, why I'm showing you this. But if you looked at this card and you had no idea if it's a neutral or a class card, which class would you guys expect this card to be in, right? Normally on a golden card, there is a banner at the bottom to let you know what class card it is. When you see that, it lets you know in the golden variant that, oh, this is actually a rogue card. Okay, this is a rogue card. This is a rogue card. But because of the dual class because the dual tribes, minion types, I should say, there's no longer a banner. So you actually have no idea what this is from, but only if you look at this slight little banner here, which again, at a glance is like, that's the most important thing I'm trying to get across from this, is that at a glance, it is important to know information without actually being like, okay, what class is that actually from? It makes it a lot harder for players to get into Hearthstone and enjoy the game when they have to keep looking on like, oh, what is that card? I wonder what that card is. Anyway, so we go to mercenaries, which you'll notice that each one of these icons has their own specific border to it, right? They could have done it with this approach where it was just all golden and you just have to know that this was a fighter, right? But they decided to take a different approach and show that this is a golden animation of card, but you always know that this is going to be a protector because they kept the red border around it. Same thing with the caster, I think it was called, or whatever it is, because it's always blue. Same thing with the fighter. It's always green. Consistency. Make sure that at a glance, you can understand where this card is, what type of card this is. Currently, just from this image alone, I guarantee you, some of you guys might know this because you've seen this card before or whatever. But if I asked 100 people what class this is from, I guarantee you most of them would not be able to figure out what class this is from because there's just it's not clear. Great idea here. Great idea here. This is a concept that someone has invented, which I think is, I don't know why they haven't done this, if I'm going to be honest. This is beautiful. Look how good these cards look and look how much clear. Look how clear these are. It's unreal, man. And when you compare it to this, right? Look how much better Rogue looks. Where's the Rogue one? I think the Rogue one looks so good. I was like fiending for it. Look at it. Look at the difference here, man. Huh? It's not even close, dude. Jay basically ends this article with other ways of additional cosmetics to sell. So someone said in chat earlier, the reason why they're doing this is for Blizzard to have more reasons for you to buy packs so you can collect another variant, which I am all for, especially if they did something like this. I would buy packs to get this thing because it's so fucking cool. It's so cool looking. But Jay has a really good example of pets on the board. When you look at Hearthstone's map, okay, you guys, most of you will probably know that you can click on this griffin, you can smash the sign, you can smash the windows. They have the clock tower that you can like tap and it'll break the top because people just like clicking on that stuff, right? Other idea, mana crystal customization, Magic the Gathering, for when we played it and people who play Magic the Gathering, the way you get mana is with lands, and with lands, you could pick the art style you want for that land. So even if you're going for a black deck, there are multiple variants of lands, so you can have your own aesthetic to it, right? You can have your own personality to it. But I'm going to talk about something that really brought this overboard for me. Really brought this overboard for me. And hold on a second, I have to launch Hearthstone for this. This whole time, I have been talking about feeling like everything in Hearthstone belongs together, right? I want to make sure that my main thesis of this entire thing is that I don't think that what they're going for is necessarily bad. It's just making sure that it belongs in the same game, right? Hearthstone has done a very good job of making sure you have customizable hero portraits while making sure it's still consistent, right? Uther and Gold, you have Cariel, who still is a Paladin hero. You have Yrel, which is the GOAT for Paladin, right? Same thing could be said for Warlock. There are so many different variants of Warlock that make it feel like it's still a part of Hearthstone while giving you the flexibility to have your own personal spice to this, bro. But the biggest problem we're gonna come see is this thing right here. This right here is my biggest problem with the way the new art thing, I guess art direction is going for Hearthstone. This doesn't look like it belongs in Hearthstone. It doesn't look like it should be in the game. And I'm not saying that they didn't do a good job, but dude, if I showed you this only, if I showed you literally just this piece, like right here, and I didn't show you anything else where this game is from, there is no way in hell. There's no way. There is absolutely, I wouldn't believe you unless you already knew that this belongs in Hearthstone. I appreciate the quality or I appreciate the effort that people have gone through to make this a reality, right? Because maybe some people will really like it, but for 99% of people, based on what I've seen in comments, this doesn't belong in Hearthstone. This is not a Hearthstone hero. This isn't what it is. It looks so fucking bad in Hearthstone. It's not that it is bad. It just doesn't belong in Hearthstone. And I think the worst part about this is the fact that when you look at it on the game and on the board, it just looks so fucking jank, bro. And when you look at it like this, it doesn't fit the aesthetic of Hearthstone whatsoever. I mean, it's super cool that there are like when he gets hit, he does like a thing. When he attacks, he swings his sword. When he throws a spell, he has all these really cool animations, right? Like, I think that's awesome. But the art style has to match the game in order for this to actually make a ton of sense. I don't know how they would do that. They have kind of done some of that aspect in Battlegrounds a little bit, but this just feels, it just feels bad. Like it doesn't make any sense. Anyways, that's my rant. That's my rant on art and the direction Hearthstone's going.